Hello friends, Satyendra here, and in this video, let's design this handle using surfacing in Creo Parametric. So let's get started. So if you see this handle, you have the handle with the grip, and both are done using surfacing. Now the same thing, one more time, I'll create to explain the complete procedure. So let's start from the beginning. And for this, I'll first create a new file, part, solid, assign the name, and say OK. Now if you see the surfacing starts with a number of curves. So first I will create a number of sketches, and then using those sketches I will create the surface. So let's create the sketch first, and for this first I'll create number of planes. I'll select this right plane. I'll take offset value this side. This is 40. One more plane. This will be 50. Again one plane, which is this side. This I'll take as 45. Say OK. So I've created 3 datum planes using the right datum plane. Now let's create the first sketch. So go to the sketch, select the front datum plane, sketch, normal. Now take the reference. So take reference from this datum plane and this datum plane. Now draw the curve. So I'll start with arc from here till here, arc like this. Then one more arc from here till here. Now the dimension. So this gap I'll take it as 12. Then this gap I'll take it as 18.5. Now this is radius 15 and this is radius 105. Now I'll delete this constraint, and then I will take one more dimension somewhere here, from here till here. This is 14. Now once this is done, I will add 2 center lines somewhere here and here. Now the dimension, so the gap in between these two is 3, and from here till here this is 15. Now let's draw a curve using spline. So I'll start from here, I'll go like this, then this, then this, then this, again like this, then like this, and then like this. Now the dimension, so from here till here this is 25. Now this dimension from here till here this is 10. Then from here till here this is 20. Then again from here till here this is 30. Then this angle, this is 20 degree. Similarly this side, from here till here this is 10. Then again from here till here this is 20. And I'll just lock these dimensions. And then I'll just double click this curve. I will add a point here. Say OK. And this point I need to snap it here. So I'll go for coincident. I'll pick this point and I'll select the center line. Now one more dimension, which is from here till here. This is 30. and then this angle from here till this is 80 degree. Now the sketch is done. I'll just say OK. So this is my first sketch. Similarly, I'll create the second sketch. So go to the sketch, select the top plane this time, go for sketch, normal. Now once again go for reference, select this datum plane and this datum plane. Now this time one more arc, which is starting from here till here, just like this. I will mirror this arc with this reference. Now the dimension. So this gap from here till here, this will be 20, and then this radius is radius 400. Say OK. So I've created number of sketches which I will use as path. Now I'll create a number of sections. So once again go to the sketch, switch on your datum plane, and then select this plane. Go for sketch, normal. Now first you go for reference and pick this vertex, this vertex, this vertex, and this vertex. Now here you just draw an ellipse. Start from here till here and then align with this. Say OK. First section is done. Now the second section, which will come on this plane. But before that, first create number of datum points, which is passing through this curve and intersecting with this plane. Then go with the second point, which is again on this plane and passing through this curve. Then third point on this plane passing through this curve, and then fourth point on this plane passing through this curve. Say OK. Once this is done, go for sketch, select this datum plane, sketch, normal. This time you switch on the datum point, go for reference and pick these points as reference. Again draw ellipse starting from here till here, passing through this. Say OK. Now the last section, so go to the sketch, switch on the datum plane, select this plane, sketch, normal. Go for reference, pick this vertex, this one, and this one. Again draw the ellipse, again draw the ellipse, starting from here till here, passing through this. Say OK. Now this is done. Now I'll create one more sketch, which is on this datum plane, sketch, normal. Now here you just place a datum point, just like this. Now just say OK. Now the sketches are done. Now I'll create the surface using boundary blend. So I'll go to the boundary blend, and in first direction I'll select all the sections. So select the first section, hold the control key, then second one, and then third one. Then go for second direction, and this time you start with this, hold the control key, then select this, then this, and then this. See the preview? Say OK. So first surface is created. Now I'll just hide all the sketches. So I'll go to this sketch, select this, go for this option, So the first surface is done. Now I'll create the second surface, and for that one more time boundary blend. This time I select this edge as first section, hold the control key and select this datum point as second section. Now see, I am getting this kind of result. Now if I apply the end condition, I'll just right click and set tangent, and then here also right click and set tangent. Switch on your datum plane and select this plane. You see, you are getting the result. So this end, this surface is tangent with this surface, and this end, this surface is tangent with this plane. Now just go for front datum plane and then go to constraints, select display drag handles, and from here you can just drag it like this. Similarly, you can go with the top view, and here also you can drag it like this and say OK. So the second surface is also done. Now the third surface, and for that I'll just unhide this sketch, select the sketch and go for fill. Surface is created. Now I'll just merge these three surfaces together, and then I'll go for solidify. See the preview? Say OK. It got converted into the solid. Now once again I will select this sketch and I'll go for extrude. This I will take it as 1. Say OK. So the handle is done. Now the next thing is creating these grips, and for that I'll just select this surface, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, hold the control key and select these surfaces. Say OK. Now once this is done, go for offset. Offset inside. Take this value as 0.5. Say OK. Now this one, I just hide it. Now I'll just go for extrude, surface. I'll select the front datum plane. So sketch, normal. Now see here, I'll draw one arc which is starting from here till here, just like this. I'll move the center point to this reference. Then I'll create a reference first. I'll go with this reference and this reference. Once again arc, which is from here till here, just like this. One more arc, which is from here till here. Let it be tangent. Then delete segment, trim this portion and this portion. Now the dimension. So from here till here, this is 38, and then from here till here, this is also 38. So make it 38. Now this is radius 80. This is also 20. Now I'll just lock these dimensions and then I will try to drag it like this. I will make it 20. And then one last dimension which is from here till here, and this is 5. Now the sketch is done. Now I'll just say OK. And this surface I will make it symmetry, and this I will take it as 30. Say OK. Now this surface and this surface I will merge it. Now see the direction. This is correct direction. Just say OK. And go for solidify. When you go for solidify using this merge surface, you can remove the material just like this. Say OK. So now you have removed this material with 0.5 thickness. Now just select this surface, Ctrl C and Ctrl V to copy and paste this surface. Hold the Ctrl key and pick all these surfaces. Say OK. Now once again switch on the datum plane and then create one more datum point. This time that point will be on the front datum plane. Now hold the Ctrl key and select this surface, then select this datum plane. So the intersection of two datum planes and this surface is the location of the new datum point. Just say OK. Switch off this and switch on the datum point. So see here, I'll just hide this sketch and this datum point. So this is the datum point I have created. Now you just select this surface and go to flatten quilt. Now click here and select these surfaces. And then go for origin and pick this datum point. So this will flatten the surface. Just say OK. Now once this is done, I'll just hide this surface and this surface. Now using this surface, I will add the grip. So once again go to extrude, select this surface, normal, and here go to palette, go for 6-sided hexagon, place it here, close it, move it to this location, rotate it like this, and this value I'll take it as 1.5. Say OK. Just say OK, and this extrude I'll create as new body. So I'm using Creo 7 here, where you will get multi-body option. Now the thickness I will take it as 0.5. Say OK. Now for this feature I'll go for pattern, and here I'll go with fill pattern. Go to reference, define, select this face, sketch, normal. Now in this case you need to define the boundary for the pattern. So I'll go for project I'll go for loop. I'll select this face, close it, say OK. Now here you take the spacing as 3 and in the grid pattern go with this option. Now the border offset you take it as 2 and just say OK. Now this time I'll just hide this surface. So grid pattern is created. Now I'll just select this feature and I'll go with flattened quilt deformation. And then I'll select this quilt. Go to reference and here you just click here and select this feature. Just say OK. And the part is done. You see how nicely the pattern has come. Now I can simply add a couple of rounds on this edge, make it 0.5 and say OK. One more round, which is somewhere here, say OK, and the part is done.